Hello, here I am with my monthly look at Diamond Distribution's previews catalog. This is for December 2024. A little late this month. Diamond did not ship the previews last week, at least to the shop that I went to, so I waited, and here we go. So, first up, a look at IDW's supplement. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Mirage Years, 93 to 95. So that's I'm pretty excited about. So after the original run of the Turtles ended, there was a 13-issue run published by Mirage, story and art by Jim Lawson, who worked in various capacities for Eastman and Laird. And he did 13 issues, and as far as I know, they've never been collected. So very cool. I'm sure these are not easy to come by in the back issue bins. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to see that. One other thing I thought was worth mentioning, if I can find the right page, the Daredevil Born Again Artist Edition. So this is a reprint of a book that came out in 2012. Wow, it's a long time ago. It's severely out of print. Goes for a lot of money now. It is one of the best kind of straight up artist editions out there. It's truly phenomenal. And a lot of times when these things go out of print, I would be happy with just the little artisan editions. Of course, little, they're still pretty big books, but this is one I think definitely deserves a full reprint. People have wanted this for a long time. It's a really great book. Mazzucchelli's fantastic. And yeah, it's a really satisfying experience to look at this thing. For DC, not a whole lot, not surprising. So I've mentioned these before, these DC Finest books. Never been too much I've been interested in, but they have some interesting choices. This one, though, Superman Family, The Giant Turtle Man, Siegel, Robert Bernstein, Otto Binder, the writers, and more. Art by Kurt Swan, Kurt Schaffenberger, Jim Moody, and more. So, 664 pages, a good chunk of wacky Superman stuff from the, I'm guessing either the 50s or maybe the early 60s. Oh, here you go, 60 to 61. So yeah, just a nice big chunk of early 60s stuff. I mean, that's still essentially the 50s, that early. Also in these DC Compact collections, New Frontier. So if by some miracle you've never read New Frontier, $10, not too bad. I'm not as big a fan of Darwin Cook as a lot of people are, but it's definitely worth $10. Would recommend that. Speaking of other interesting books, a reprint of an omnibus, which doesn't happen very often. Legion of Superheroes, 5 Years Later Omnibus, Volume 1. This thing kind of went out of print really fast, goes for a lot of money, so I thought I would point it out. Written by Mary and Tom Bierbaum, art by Keith Giffen and Al Gordon, but really Keith Giffen is the mastermind of this stuff. And these are some of the strangest and most challenging mainstream comics ever put out. It's really a miracle this thing exists. Yeah, what an amazing piece of work by Giffen. But if you're not a Legion person, it's probably a hard sell. From Marvel, I just go to the back of the catalog. I don't even look at the stuff up front. So, thought I'd mention this: Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It's basically just a new collection of Captain America, the Brubaker, Steve Epting, Michael Lark, Captain America. Captain America 1 through 9 and 11 through 14. 300 something pages. Only $15. That's a pretty good deal. This stuff's available in tons of formats, but this was a pretty fun run as I remember it. It's been a few years, but I enjoyed it at the time. And Captain America by Mark Gruenwald Omnibus Volume 2. Cannot believe that this exists. But Mark Gruenwald was the guy who was writing Captain America when I was a kid. So yeah, pretty exciting for me. This actually has the issues that I was reading as a kid in it. And Gruenwald wrote Captain America for a very long time. Probably would be a third one if they can justify it. So don't know that I'd recommend this necessarily, especially a huge expensive omnibus, but hey, if it's ever at your library or something, give it a look. It's a pretty interesting run on the character, and it really goes through a lot of permutations. But I'll definitely admit that this is, 13-year-old Colin talking more than 47-year-old Colin. Let's go to the main catalog. And I went quite a ways before I got to the first thing. There was nothing from Image this month, which surprised me because last month there were a few things. So if I missed something, I apologize. So this company Distillery, which I've had zero interest in and still don't really have any interest. This is the first thing they've had I've really looked at, though. Last Flight Out of Wichita. It's a 70s crime. You know what these kind of comics are like. The writer is B. Clay Moore. Not a writer I've read a ton by, but he wrote Hawaiian Dick many years ago, which I believe was an Image comic, maybe Dark Horse. I think Image. And I enjoyed that, though I have not revisited them. Who knows if they're good, but I remember liking them, so his name brings back fond memories. From Alien Books, another Juan Jimenez book. This time it looks like it's a standalone. Black Star, written by Ricardo Barea and art by Juan Jimenez. 56 pages, $12.99. I'm going to guess it's published at a pretty nice size. Maybe European album size at least. This is one I think I might pick up. If nothing else, I know the art will be fantastic. All right. Okay. From Cosmic Lion Productions, A Slice of Spy one-shot by Matt Howarth. Yeah, I don't know anything about it other than that it's by Matt Howarth. They just published a mini-series by him. And, yeah, excited to see that he has a publisher. So, maybe we'll keep getting more Howarth work. From Drawn and Quarterly, Holy Lacrimony by Michael DeForge. If you're not familiar with DeForge's work, I really don't even know how I would describe it. He definitely has... I wouldn't even say he has a unique art style, but that's only because he was so influential. So many people have copied him at this point. But he was pretty unique when he came out. But yeah, he's produced a bunch of books, mostly published by Drawn and Quarterly. And he's worth checking out. I don't know if this one is, because I haven't read it, obviously, but he's definitely kind of a singular talent worth checking out if you come across his work. There's No Time Like the Present by Paul B. Rainey. So this guy just had a book out last year, which I, of course, cannot remember the name of that book. Thought it might be next to me, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. Has a real kind of dour, almost like daily comic strip style. but received raves from all kinds of people, including, Austin English raved about the book, which very much surprised me. It didn't seem like it was his sort of thing. Anyway, he won awards. I think there's a movie coming out of it. And so he has a new book. There's No Time Like the Present. As far as I know, it's all new work. 324 pages. Pretty hefty. So, anyway, thought I would draw some attention to that. From this publisher I've never heard of, Dren Productions After Dark. I'm going to pronounce this AXA, A-X-A, AXA Classics, #1. She looks like a Conan type, kind of a buxom barbarian woman. I have, I think, at least a comic somewhere that has some AXA material, but this stuff is European, I think. And this collects the original comic strips of AXA from their original run in the 70s and 80s. So I have no idea what the format is. I don't know anything to expect. Of course, it has multiple covers. Why wouldn't it? But anyway, I thought I'd point it out in case there were any AXA fans out there or just AXA curious. I'm definitely curious. I don't know if I'm curious enough to pick it up. From Epicenter Books, a publisher that I think is worth spotlighting, even when they put out stuff I don't necessarily care about. But they've published these textbooks. I have a few of these text graphic novels. Usually I buy them if the artist is someone I recognize. These aren't people I recognize, either one of these books. Tex and Zagor, Omens of War, and Tex, Valley of the Shadow. I'm sure they would be sort of entertaining and dependable in a workman-like way, but I'm probably going to pass. But I still wanted to point them out. Solid Western from the Italian comics market. From Fantagraphics, the Atlas Comics Library, #5, Police Action. This has work by Joe Maneely, Gene Colan, Bob Powell, et al. Basically, this is from sort of the end and the very beginning of the Comics Code, or the end of the pre-Comics Code era, and then slightly into the beginning. There were multiple sort of Law and Order titles, and this collects a big chunk of them, 250 pages and a nice big hardcover. I think if you've seen the Atlas books and they're your thing, this will probably appeal to you. If you've seen them and they don't appeal to you, then you're probably safe skipping it. Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean. This is another, I'm going to guess, Italian Disney story. Looks like it has a kind of lush art style. Apparently it's sort of a steampunk alternate world, which sounded fairly interesting. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful book, if that sort of thing is of interest to you. Life Drawing, 11 Rockets collection by Jaime Hernandez. I can't imagine that not being of interest to everybody, so I'll go ahead and recommend that wholeheartedly. Goes Like This by Jordan Crane. This book kind of surprised me a little bit. This has... Crane has put together a body of short stories via the pages of his comic book series Uptight and the influential comic anthology Non. They've never been collected until now. This is over a dozen short stories published over the last 25 years. He made the book Keeping Two, which came out a few years ago. Excuse me. I thought it was a pretty excellent book. I'll admit that Crane has not done a lot for me in the past, though I really liked Keeping Two. I will say, as a book designer, he's pretty spectacular, so I'm sure Goes Like This will look amazing. If you've read Keeping Two, I would probably recommend this book to you. If you haven't, this might be a good place to start since it's a collection of short stories. Beat It Rufus by Noah Van Sciver. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone who's ever seen my videos that I'm a Noah Van Sciver reader and appreciator. Yeah. I won't necessarily talk about the book because, frankly, I don't want to know that much about it going into it. Barnaby, Volume 5 by Crockett Johnson. This is the final volume, collecting the comic strip. It's the guy who did Harold and the Purple Crayon. Barnaby is, one of the great comic strips. And, yeah, it's pretty amazing they got this whole thing collected. It's only 5 books, but this isn't Peanuts. This isn't Prince Valiant. It doesn't have the name recognition. So I think it's pretty spectacular they were able to get this one in. Very excited to have it complete. From Fantagraphics Underground, some good offerings here. Quite a few. Murderberg by Carol Leigh. Not too long ago, they put out a book by her called My Time Machine. So here's another Carol Leigh book after a long time of no Carol Leigh. This is a run of short stories serialized in the 2010s. John Cunio's Good Intentions. I actually got a look at this book this week. And it's just sort of one page. I guess you just call them, I would say illustrations, but they're cartoons. They have a New Yorker style, a drawing, and maybe a bit of dialogue or caption beneath it. These are the ones I saw, at least. They're sexy, pretty saucy, but look good. Give Me Liberty, a revised history of the American Revolution by Gilbert Shelton, Ted Richards, Gary Hallgren, Willie Murphy, and others. Highly recommend this book. I have seen this one. It's printed at a nice size. Maybe not quite, treasury size, but pretty close. It's a nice big book. Shelton's art looks fantastic at that size, and so do these other undergrounders who used to have pretty rigorous pencil and ink work, but it was always packed in so tight on those comic pages. In this edition, it really breathes. Highly recommended. It is just a reprint of an old underground comic, but they have some back matter material, some other art and illustrations they've collected. It's a really, really nice package. Secrets of a Lost Diary by Santiago Cohen. This one I know nothing about. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I won't try to sell you on it. Kafka's Manuscript by Jason Novak. I've read one of Novak's books, which is, of course, slipping my mind. I believe he put out another one, which I haven't read. And then this one is Kafka related, and therefore will be of interest to me. I like Kafka. And there's a surprising amount of comics related to Franz Kafka, and I do like to keep up with those. From Floating World, Santos Sisters number 8. The first 5 issues are about to come out in a collection from Fantagraphics pretty soon, but this is still the standard newsprint comic from Floating World. Pretty fun that they've kept it going this long. I know 8 issues doesn't seem like it's a long time, but it is kind of a long time. This one was a mystery to me. If anyone out there has something to say about it, I'd love to hear it. From Hachette Children's, The Famous Five, volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. Looks like sort of classic bande dessinée style, very Tintin-ish. It's sort of like Tintin mixed with Scooby-Doo, maybe. It's a few kids and a dog. Anyway, I would love to know if anyone thinks these are good comics or worth reading. I have no idea if these have ever been translated over here before. And maybe they're not even foreign. I don't know. Maybe these are all new. Anyway, but it says ideal for anyone who loves Tintin and Asterix. which tracks with the visuals. From Hermes Press, thought I'd point these out. Frank Thorne's The Complete Gita of Al-Azhar. This is sort of, I don't even know what you would call the genre, but sexy barbarian comics, I guess. Gita is very much a, Red Sonja type, and Frank Thorne sort of became well known in comics for his run on Red Sonja. This Gita of Al-Azhar stuff looks fucking great. It looks so good. And this is printed a nice size, 8x11. Nice big hefty book. Also Frank Thorne's Lan limited edition hardcover. Also printed at 8x11. So I've never read Lan, though I've seen it and it looks great. I love Frank Thorne's art, so I'm not exactly a neutral party, but exciting to see they're keeping his work going. Like I said, I love the guy's work. From Living the Line, another one of their manga horror translations, Man Sect by Koga Shinichi. Yeah, I don't know much about it. It has a very cool cover, and yeah, I haven't really picked up any of their manga, I don't think, but I've heard good things from the people who did. Here's a nice one-page ad from Man Sect. Yeah, I'm sure it will be of high quality. They seem to be pretty choosy about what they put out. Even the stuff I haven't been interested in, I can at least see the vision. From Oni, The Freak hardcover. This was originally published by Ad House as a sort of kind of graphic album format. And it's all black and white. This is really Matt Lesniewski's first big thing. It wasn't very big, but that was where I first became aware of him, at least. Nice to see this thing getting a new printing for people to check out if you love Lesniewski's work. He's younger then, obviously, but it's still pretty appealing visually. I don't know that it needed a hardcover presentation, but I'm sure some economic considerations came into play there. All right. Most exciting thing for me in this book, in this catalog, from Paper Cuts, The Smurfs Archives, Volume 1. For the first time ever, the Smurfs adventures are collected in their originally published order in English. These have been presented by Paper Cuts for quite a few years now in several different formats. And I bought the small paperbacks basically just because they were cheap. I'm very excited, though, to be able to get these at a larger size and full color. When you get into the later volumes, it's very tough to tell which ones are created by Peyo and which ones are more the studio system taking over. But the early ones are all delightful. And I'm very excited that they're now going to be presented in the proper format. Yeah, these are just really fun comics. And for people who only think of the Smurfs as being like the cartoon from the 80s or any of the other adaptions of the Smurfs since, nothing against any of those other versions. I've only really seen the cartoon from the 80s, but I know they've had movies. And those may or may not be any good. I have no idea. But these are definitely superior to the cartoon from when I was a kid, and pretty delightful stuff. I'm not trying to oversell them like they're genius work, but I think they stand pretty well with Asterix and Tintin and the other classic bande dessinée series for younger readers. This is the weirdest thing in this catalog. From Pan Universal Galactic Worldwide, company I've never heard of. Black Panther #1, 1977, Pan-Dimensional 3D edition. So it is the original Jack Kirby Black Panther #1, rendered in 3D. Why? I have no idea. Why this particular issue? I don't know. I don't know who this is, why this exists. I don't know that I'm going to buy it, but I'm just very curious about it. It really caught me off guard. I'd love to see it, that's for sure. But I don't know how likely it is that I'll come across it anywhere. From Rebellion 2000 AD, Adam Eterno, Grun the Grim. Not a great title. The cover just looks like this sort of Turok the Dinosaur Hunter style painted cover. The only reason I'm mentioning this, which is I've heard of Adam Eterno. I've never read an Adam Eterno story. But the only reason I'm mentioning this is because the artist, Francisco Solano Lopez, who's fantastic. And I don't know how early that is for Solano Lopez, but he's a great artist. I thought that would be worth mentioning. From Scratch Comics, Fully Loaded #1, written and drawn by someone named Jimmy Broxton. And this sounds like the usual. I mean, this is a cliche-ridden write-up. I'm just going to give it to you. It's 2065. Carson Blake is 100 years old and tired of asking nicely. A former Special Forces operative turned gun for hire is lured out of retirement to save the family of the man who saved his life. To do this, he must confront the legacy of his own past as he does battle with the criminal underworld, a place he once called home. Fully Loaded is a super stylish, ultra-violent, and sexually charged cyber noir thriller. I almost gave up several times while reading that. The only reason I'm mentioning this, one, the illustration over here, it's clear this guy is channeling Jeff Darrow and a few other people, but Jeff Darrow primarily. This really seems like a hard-boiled, inspired series. It's a 4-issue miniseries. He's got pull quotes from Howard Chaykin, Dave Gibbons, and Mark Miller. So I don't know. Who is Jimmy Broxton? Anyone out there know who he is? Is he some guy who's well known? A lot of this other stuff looks like Tim Bradstreet down here. That kind of photo referenced, kind of stiff style. I'm probably going to pick this up just out of curiosity to see what it looks like. But yeah, no idea about any. Don't know who Jimmy Broxton is. Scratch Comics, I'm guessing, is his company. No idea. Anyway, that was the surprise of the month for me, for something new. I don't expect much out of it, but might be worth a try. From Tomorrow's Comic Book Creator, a magazine I mention every single time it's in here. This time a double mention because the cover is devoted to the great Rick Veitch. One, a fantastic cartoonist, an all-time cartoonist, and a guy that I had the pleasure of interviewing recently for a forthcoming little magazine. Yeah, love Rick Veitch's work. So happy this is going to come out. Yeah, happy for any sort of attention his work gets. I reread all of his self-published superhero work to prepare for my interview. His Brat Pack and Max Immortal, that stuff. It was all even better than I remembered it being. Phenomenal stuff. So if you're ever interested in the issue of Comic Book Creator, try this one. Check out Rick Veitch. Here's another great cartoonist featured in a very expensive book from Wayne Allen Harold Productions. P. Craig Russell, 50 Years in Full Color. Hardcover, signed and numbered edition. $150, 12 by 12 hardcover, only 120 pages. I'm sure that it is a luxurious book. Wayne Allen Harold has done artist editions of P. Craig Russell, and I'm sure that they lavish his work with the production values it deserves. It won't be one I'm picking up, but it would be one I would love to look through if someone I knew had one. I think P. Craig Russell is an amazing artist, but not quite amazing enough for me to pop for that, unfortunately. One last thing in the manga section. Where are we at here? This book, Hauntress, by Minotauro Mochizuki, a seminal work of horror from 1993. This classic from the author of Dragonhead, which I've never heard of, is finally appearing in English for the first time. What about this caught my eye? Honestly, the cover just sort of jumped out at me. And then also a one and done manga, always appealing to me. I don't want to sign up for 20 books. But never heard of Minotauro Mochizuki, never heard of Hauntress, but this one jumped out at me. So anyway, might give that a shot. But if anyone knows anything about this, let me know. And that's it. Kind of a slim month, to be honest. Not that there weren't other interesting things in here. And if there's something you think I didn't give enough attention to, yell at me in the comments. And if you have anything else to say about anything, let me know. Thanks.